Hello friends, in this session we will be discussing about the static keyword and its usages in Java language. In the previous session we have discussed static members can be used for three things. One is variables, methods and then blocks. So we also discussed there can be multiple static blocks, right? Okay, now we'll discuss about the other ways how static behaves. Okay, now static members can be accessed without creating an object also. So for that we'll see an example. There's a class called as open lambda. Okay, it has one static method called as fun. Okay, I'll not be having any parameters, just specify it as fun. Okay, now if I want to work with this method, I need to create an object, but if this method is static, is declared as static, then no need to create an object of open lambda or OL. I just can go ahead and say OL dot fun. With the help of the class name, I will be able to invoke this static method. All the static members, as you already saw, will come into life immediately when the class gets loaded. It doesn't wait for the object to be created. Okay, now we'll see one more example of the static keyword. Okay, now there's a class called as A. It has W and H. Okay, let me assign the value of W as 100 and declare this as static. Static int H is equal to 99. Okay, now I'll be writing down the method. Here in this method, okay, I'll declare, instead of this, I'll declare it as int a comma int b. H is equal to b. I'll declare this as static. Okay, now there's a class A. First what I'll do is I'll just have a question for you guys. First I'll go ahead and say A is equal to new A. Okay, then what would be the value of W100 by this time? SOP of A dot W, I'll be getting the value as 100, right? SOP of A dot H, I'll be getting the value as 99. No issues in this, I guess. Okay, I can access W and H through the class name also. I can do something like write out the code like this: A dot H, same value I'll be getting. Any issues, any doubts in this? No, right? Okay, I can also create one more object. A1 is equal to new A1 dot fun. I'll update the value as 1 comma 2. So A value will be assigned to W and H. So value of SOP of A1 dot W will be what? 1. SOP of A1 dot H will be what? 2, correct? Again I'll be creating one more object. A1 dot fun of 5 comma 6. Now if I calculate the value, if I try to get the value of A2 dot W, if I try to print out the value of A2 dot W, the value would be 5 comma and respectively 6 will be there. After doing all these things, I'll go ahead and say the SOP of A dot W, what will be the value? the value will be 5. If I try to get the value of a1.w, through here right now it was 1, now here it will be 5. If I try to get the value of a.w, earlier it was 100, 5. If I try to get the value of a.w, already we have done, right? A.w 5. So any objective I access, the value of w would be 5. The reason is static variables come into life when the class gets loaded, and there's only one copy of static variables will be available inside the memory. So now we have to understand how the memory is built inside the JVM. We'll try to understand, but now understand here there is only one copy. But if instance variables, how many copies will be there? Though as many number of objects we create, those many number of instance variables will be available. Okay, so now we have created 3 objects, but still there's only one copy of. Now let us do something like this. I'll divide the memory in like this. Okay, I'll remove this. I'll divide the memory something like this. There's a main memory here, there is a stack, heap, and main memory. Okay, whenever the .class file gets loaded here, what happens? All the .class files and the static members will be available here. Static members in the sense variables, blocks will be executed as and when the .class file gets loaded and finishes of the execution. Okay, but the static member variables would be available instead of members. You can take this as variables. Now whenever I create an object, objects will be residing inside the heap. Okay, and instance members, instance variables will be residing inside this. All the method executions will be available here. All the local variables will be residing inside the stack. For every new thread, a new stack frame would be created. Okay, so this is basically the high level overview of how the memory has been divided. So there is also a saying, static members can only access the static members, it can't access the non-static members. One reason is, one example I can show you is, there's a class called as A which has int w, int h, which is of static, void fun of int a, w is equal to a, give some space, make this a static. Okay, now h is equal to b. Okay, let me assign the value as 10. Now see, w I can't access, because when will this w come into life? Only when the object gets created, right? Only when the object gets created. This will come into life when the .class file has been loaded into the JVM. Okay, so I'll not be able to access this non-static member inside the static member. Okay, now h I can access because this will come into life when the .class file gets loaded. This will come into life when the .class file gets loaded. So both has some relationship. So that's why we say static members can only access static members, but not the non-static members. Okay, we'll go ahead and see the small execution for this. What's happening? Okay, now see, there's a open lambda class wh. I'm trying to access one method w and h. This is a non-static member where can access the static member. After creation of the object also it can access, but a static member, that is two non-static members. Let me try and assign p and q. I'll not be able to do this. The reason is, this is a static member and it can't access a non-static member, because somebody can access a method inside the main method by saying open lambda dot fun1, right? Somebody can access. When during that time of access, if this variables are not known, will not be known to this particular method, because it will not be existing inside the memory at all. That's the reason we all say static members can only access the static members but not the non-static members. I hope this is clear to you guys. Okay, now okay, we'll stop the session for now. Okay, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up, and please do subscribe for my channel. Thanks a lot.